Welcome back to the Star Sailors League finals in the Bahamas. 20 teams have been whittled down to 4 over 4 days, and now these 4 are about to duke it out for glory in the final race. The top team wins $40,000, part of the $200,000 prize fund, a sizable pot for sailing, but they're also competing for a prestigious trophy. I'm standing with Craig Simonet, a stalwart of the Nassau Yacht Club. Craig, you have a beautiful trophy cabinet here. We're not going to talk about all the trophies, but I thought to give us an insight into the Nassau Yacht Club and the connection to stars by going through some of these trophies. Here's the biggest one, the Nassau Cup. What's that for?
Well, that's the most interesting one. That started in 1933, and it commemorated the first Miami-Nassau Ocean Race Trophy, which later led into the SORC, Southern Ocean Racing Circuit. At one point we had over 250 yachts racing from Miami to Nassau, and it really was a major world event in international yachting. Yes.
And I move swiftly on to this rather beautiful trophy, and it's the Sir Roland Simonet trophy for the Star Sailors League champions. There is only one set of names on here, 2013, Robert Scheidt and Bruno Prada. And Craig, this is your family. You are a Simonet, and I believe that's your dad who founded this club.
He did in 1933, and it's an honour to have the opportunity from the family to donate this trophy to this event, and we hope to see the Star League back many years into the future.
Okay, well it's a nice thing, it's a great trophy. All these guys are pretty keen to get their hands on this.
Well, it's a pleasure to have a fleet of this calibre here. And I think I can assure you we'll have good wins for the remaining part of the regatta.
Well, we are now into the final itself of the Star Sailors League final in Nassau. Flag goes down. Perfect start by the Brazilians, George Zarif and Henry Björning. Now the race officer Sharon Burke has added 2 legs to this, so 6 in all. We're going to whiz through the first half of the race to join it halfway through. This is how they get there. Mendelblatt and Farty tacking across on the first upwind beat to control the fleet. Great speed by the Americans, and they look on super form on this final day of the Star Sailors League final in Nassau. Kusznierewicz and Zitsky, Lööf and Ekstrom on that ley line. Zarif and Björning coming in on the starboard lane. Oh, and they managed to get ahead of the Swedes and the Poles into second place. Well, that's pretty stunning sailing there by the young Finn sailor, just 22. The Swedes and the Poles, 3rd and 4th. Downwind to the second mark, the bottom of the track. Mendelblatt and Farty beginning to pull out quite a healthy lead. Zarif and Björning moving out to the right-hand side of the track as we look down, with the Swedes and Poles almost neck and neck as they come down towards this bottom mark. Still 4 legs to go. Lööf and Ekstrom back together after about 6-7 years. Fredrik Lööf here in the yellow bib with the number 3 on his back. Hasn't stepped foot in the Star since winning gold medal at the 2012 Olympics, and here he is mixing it up. So the Brazilians just tacking away onto starboard tack, heading across the track, and at the top of the course for mark number 3, it is still Mendelblatt and Farty ahead of Zarif and Björning, with almost less than a boat length between them. So incredibly close here, halfway round the course, and then the Poles just managing to squeeze ahead of the Swedes at the top mark as they come around the spreader mark. And now we are joined by Luke Patience, silver medalist in the 470. Luke did the first 3 days racing, didn't make the cut, but here, Luke, we are looking at the final, all 4 boats hammering downwind. Little less breeze now.
It does look a bit lighter, it really does, and I just love this format. 4 boats in the final. There is nowhere to hide in this racing. We've watched it throughout. There's lanes everywhere, and as you said, the boats are weaving, everything's changing, and you're just never safe. It's a great thing for the sport. So you can see that Mendelblatt's lead, whilst he's in control, it's a really small lead. We're talking 2 waves, 3 waves that you could catch would change the lead totally. But here we are, Farty, so relaxed, isn't he? He looks like the most relaxed guy in the fleet downwind.
It's a beautiful crewing position. And bottom mark, a quick change of course to the top as they go around within meters of each other. The Poles have managed to squeeze ahead on that downwind leg, just ahead of the Brazilians, and the Swedes, Fredrik Lööf and Anders Ekstrom, who haven't sailed together as a crew for about 6-7 years. They're back for this gig. Fredrik Lööf hasn't stepped foot in a star since the 2012 Olympics, so he's been out, and there's Mendelblatt and Fatih. Mendelblatt doing that beautiful controlling tack back into the middle of the course and just covering his opponents. Kusznierewicz and Scheidt right behind them. They've tacked over as well, and they are following the Americans. Luke, I noticed Zarev and Björning were doing their own thing, and these guys, Lööf and Ekstrom, they've got a bit of work to do.
They do, and with Zarev and Björning, you can see the distance between Lööf and Ekstrom, and Zarev and Björning, one's on the far right, one's on the far left. That could be an interesting crossing point as we get further up track. But here we see the Polish and the Americans really having a battle for first, second, and the US boys have tacked just ahead of Poland. I think Poland have caught up here. This is just getting so tight towards the top of the course.
Well, the Americans Lee Bow tacking just underneath the Poles, and they are neck and neck, Bow 8 and 9. The Americans nearest us in the picture with Kusznierewicz and Scheidt, the Poles almost on that port ley line going to the top mark. Lööf and Ekstrom, look at them, they've come right across, and we see them in the top of the picture there, and here towards the top mark and the spreader mark. Oh, and the Poles have got it. The Poles have just snipped first place in the final itself. What a beautiful piece of upwind sailing there, and fantastic boat speed from the Poles, and the Americans just going about wide, and for the first time in the quarter semis and finals, I would say Mendelblatt and Fatih beginning to show some vulnerability. And there is Lööf and Ekstrom from Sweden up into third place. So from almost nowhere, they've managed to claw their way onto the podium position. Well, this is so dramatic, really. We've got one leg to go in the final. Zarev and Björning still in touch.
They are still in touch, they absolutely are, and they're just rounding this top mark. Remember, we've done 5 laps so far, we're on the final leg, and really the boats are all still tight, but this is the race for the win. Poland and the US, they are so tight currently, but I mean, look, Lööf and Ekstrom here, they really are pushing up. I'm not counting them out yet. There is a lot of race left to go, and I know that it's never over till it's over in this sport, and Lööf knows that, and he will be pushing and pushing and pushing for this.
Well, huge focus on board. The top prize is $40,000 US, second prize $30,000, so there's $10,000, you know, between first and second. And look at that, the lead just going back to the Polish team of Kusznierewicz and Scheidt. Mendelblatt and Fatih neck and neck with the Poles, and right behind them the Swedes, and Zarev and Björning rolling the dice a little bit.
Yeah, well, as I often say, when you see a boat far out on one side, it's often when hope has entered the boat, and that might have happened here for Zarev and Björning.
Oh, and look at this battle for first position. Remember, $10,000 at stake between the 40,000 and 30,000 first and second place. Mendelblatt and Fatih battling with the guys in red from Poland, and the Americans just squeezing ahead on that wave. Brian Fatih rolling the boat through, and that is an overtaking little manoeuvre there. They've got their lane, and Luke, what a beautiful sight there.
Well, is that what they needed? They just got that surge ahead, as you said. Maybe that's the meters they need. The race course is just getting tighter and tighter now, and everything you take, you'll take it. And I don't know, I think Mendelblatt and Fatih might have put themselves in a place unpassable.
Well, they managed to squirt out another knot and a half of boat speed there. And look at the Swedes back in the game. Fantastic sailing from Fredrik Lööf and Anders Ekstrom. Oh, look at Mendelblatt and Fatih. Literally, they like a lemon pit. They squeezed ahead of those two. And now we're duking it out for second place. The Swedes have come from last to second. As we look at Mark Mendelblatt, the cool, laconic American, just heaving that huge main sheet in.
He is, and he's working it with such flow as well. It's really looking good for them now. That moment ago when we saw that surge, it has put him in a controlling position. I think he's maybe on for the win here.
was incredible, Luke. Just one wave, one surge, and wham, they're away. And we're getting towards the finish. Brian Fardy in a very relaxed position there. Lööf and Ekstrom up into second place. They've managed to squeeze ahead of Kusznierewicz and Zitski. And on the finish line of the Star Sailors League final in Nassau of the Bahamas, it is Mark Mendelblatt and Brian Fardy giving each other big high fives and big hugs from Brian. Oh, they are absolutely stoked to win this championship, and $40,000 US, 30,000 to the Swedes, who managed to pull a rabbit out of the bag to get second. And there are the Poles, Kusznierewicz and Zitski in third on the podium, with Zarif and Björning heads held high. As you mentioned earlier, Luke, what an amazing result for the VIP guest from the Finn class. Here's the official top 10 with the two Finn sailors, Zarif and Scott, paving the way for future VIP guests to the event. But for now, our winners, Mark Mendelblatt and Brian Fardy, have earned their place on that fantastic trophy.
Brian and I have been together a long time sailing, and that's one of our big advantages. And he keeps me calm and does a great job preparing the boat and doing his job as a crew, and it's a pleasure to sail with him. An organization from the Star Sailors League and support, and just a great event here in Nassau.
A lot of hard work.
Yeah, a lot of
hard work.
A lot of soreness.
Yeah.
To the winners of the Star Sailors League Championship 2014 from the USA, Mr. Mark Mendelblatt and Brian Fardy. That's it from Nassau. The Star Sailors League will be back with a Lake Championship in Switzerland, plus the grand finale again from the beautiful Bahamas.